Do you ever find yourself organizing, running, playing, or maybe cleaning, baking, cooking? Perhaps watching, wondering, or wasting time? One way or another, routinely distracting yourself with lots of little things, easy things, or maybe no specific thing? At least nothing of any real significance. All to avoid doing the big things, the important things, the things that need done, the things that really matter. That's procrastination. Putting off what you know needs done, waiting till you get around to it. If only we could go out and find or buy or build around to it. Then maybe we could get things moving, get things done, get the things done that we know need doing. I'm amazed at the lengths I can go to avoid doing the things I really need to do, like building around to it sometimes. That's got to be a dad joke, right? Around to it. But every spouse needs to get themselves one of these round to it. When your spouse says, hey, yeah, I'm going to do it. Just as soon as I get around to it, you can hand them one of these little round to it. Listen, sometimes I sit down at my desk to do what needs to be done, to call who needs to be called, to look after the to-do list that needs to done. But I decide first, let me just tidy this up a little bit, to tidy my desk and then my whole office before long. And then I remember, I better run a couple of errands first. I'll check off a few more things on that to-do list that are way down near the bottom. Or let me just reply to every unread email in my inbox that I've ever received, right? And I really start thinking, maybe I should clean. I should sanitize my phone one more time before I make that call I know I need to make. Which gets me then thinking about that new idea when I haven't even done anything with my last idea yet, and I really should be focusing on something more important. See, procrastination is simply avoidance, and it's a habit. And it's time to get it fixed. Not later, not tomorrow, and not when we get around to it, but now. Welcome to week number 4 of Breakthrough, a teaching series designed to help you break through some of the most difficult barriers that could be holding you back, keeping you stuck, and causing you to miss the mark. We've been learning another how-to each week, a how-to that'll help you break through to a new level, taking another step toward reaching your full God-given potential. We're all about building people here at the Point Church, not about observing some ritual or following all the right rules, and not even about some religious experience that I would want for you. No, we're all about developing a relationship with Jesus that makes a difference in everyday life. Because interestingly enough, turns out that's what Jesus was actually all about. Building people, helping people take their next step toward reaching their full God-given potential. It drove the religious leaders of his day crazy. And today, many of the people called to communicate his message have instead complicated it or intellectualized it, right? All got it up here, or maybe gotten so wrapped up in evaluating it. But Jesus taught us to just do it. His brother James wrote in James chapter 1, verse 22, not just to be a hearer of God's word, but a doer. He writes, do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. No, do what it says. See, turns out with our spiritual journey, our families, our work, every area, we're to be people of action. We're to be doing, not just deliberating or deceiving ourselves. Today, in week number 4 of this breakthrough series, we're going to learn how to overcome procrastination. Back in week number 1, we learned that we are to be salt and light. And what's that? Well, agents of change and people who show the path forward. We learned how to overcome resistance to change both in us and around us. And then in week number 2, we learned how to have the hard conversations that lead to real change. And then last week, in week 3, we learned how to pull our heads out of the sand and how to overcome toxic positivity, pausing in the pain, processing things and praying, knowing that we are never alone, but that we must face the tough stuff if we ever want to get to the real change that we all need in us and around us. So now today, if you haven't gotten around to it yet, to doing any of these things we've been talking about, well, we're about to do it, right? How to overcome procrastination. And so without further procrastination, hit that thumbs up icon below this video. Will you do that for me right now? Get her done and get ready for a breakthrough as we learn to take action and to get her done. If you're wondering how to get started with the very things you know that you need to get done, let me cut to the chase. Do the worst first. That one thing, you know that someday you know you need to get it done. That thing you really don't want to do it first. In fact, do it now and don't delay. I started this series by talking a little about the famous Sermon on the Mount. Jesus, he loved to teach, and he settles down at the beginning of the Sermon of the Mount, and you can see all the way through not just this one sermon, but through his life. His teaching made a difference. People were amazed at his teachings and with the authority that he taught. And believers and unbelievers alike, well, they continue to be amazed at his teachings. In Matthew chapter 7, near the end of this sermon, Jesus gives a call to action. He's been doing a lot of teaching, and now he's giving us this call to action. And he tells a story to drive the point home. A parable, a story that teaches. Because Jesus wasn't about flowery homilies or poetic presentations or merely just handing out some good advice. No, he wanted to make a difference. And so he says in verse 24 of Matthew chapter 7, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down and the streams rose and the winds blew and beat against that house. The storms swirled, right? The problems, the difficulties, the troubles of this world, man, they came. Yet the house did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine, he says, and does not put them into practice, does not put them into action, doesn't do anything with these words, who merely contemplates, prays about, wanders, thinks, well, I need to get around to it someday. Well, those people, he says, they are like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down and the streams rose and the winds blew and beat against that house. All the same things that came against the house built on the rock. But this house built on the sand, it says it fell with a great crash. Here's the truth, the whole truth. We're all going to do something. We're all doing something. We're either laying on the couch or we're making something happen. So do something that matters. Do something that lasts. Do something that has a firm foundation. I've challenged you in these last weeks to overcome resistance to change in you and around you. I've challenged you in these last weeks to have the hard conversations that bring about real change. And I've challenged you in these last weeks to not let your pain go to waste, but to pause in it, not to park there, but to pause in it, process it, and pray about it, knowing that you're never alone. You are not alone. And today I challenge you to take action, to actually do what you know to do what you've been putting off, to do the worst first for your good and God's glory. Do the worst first. Decide to do it now and don't delay. Procrastination, the delay, the avoidance of doing what needs done isn't really about the work, you know. It isn't really about the effort that I'm going to have to put into this. It isn't about getting up off the couch. The thing that needs done isn't what procrastination is really all about. Experts agree. It has more to do with anxiety and stress. See, procrastination is really a coping mechanism, a stress reliever. When your kids are too much, when your parents' health is failing, when the boss is giving you a hard time at work, when the bills are piling up, when the inboxes are overflowing, when the storms are swirling, when the rains are coming, when the winds are blowing, when you then finally sit down to do what you know needs done, the really important stuff, the stuff that, well, that shouldn't wait, that you don't really want to do, the calls you don't really want to make, the conversations you don't really want to have. Well, when you sit down to process the pain you don't really want to process, when you sit down to get her done or pull out the round to it, and your brain says, stop, wait. Not right now. We can't face this. We can't do this. Your brain goes, you want me to do what? No way, Jose. Can't we just tidy up this room a little? Maybe I should drop off that mail, or I better make a call I want to make rather than the one I ought to make. Couldn't we just scroll through Facebook for a little while and read some motivational, inspirational quotes instead? The next thing you know, an hour's gone by. You've wasted too much time to even get started now, and so you beat yourself up. Because there you go again, putting off doing what you knew, what you know needs done. Procrastinating. Procrastination has a trigger. And listen, with procrastination, the trigger is always stress. Procrastination doesn't just have a trigger, it also has a pattern. And once it's triggered, once procrastination is triggered, the pattern causes us to avoid taking action. And then there's a reward. Procrastination comes with a little reward. You get a little stress relief. I just need to rest a little while. I just need to play a little while. I just need to watch a little while. Because you put off doing, you put off taking the action you know to take, and you feel like there, I'm a little relieved. That the trigger, the pattern, and the reward, that's how procrastination works. The way to overcome procrastination is not to deal with the trigger. The triggers will always be there, Just like in this world, the troubles are constant and will always be there. Don't wish and want for the troubles of or the problems of dead people. It's only dead people that don't have troubles. It's only dead people that don't have triggers. We can't eliminate the triggers, but we can change the pattern of avoiding the action, the things that need done. Next time you know that there is something that needs done, and you're triggered or tempted to avoid doing it, recognize right there, you must be stressed about something. And so you've got just 10 seconds, and then interrupt the pattern. But before the 10 seconds are up, interrupt the pattern. Now, don't be too grossed out by this, but when I was a kid, when I was at home and when something delicious fell on the floor like a chocolate bar, I mean, it was fair game. It didn't have to be wrapped up. It was fair game to pick that chocolate bar up off the ground, off the floor, and you had 10 seconds. And you would say, 10-second rule. And it's still good. No germs. There's no chance that a germ got on this because it's so delicious and it's just on the floor for such a short time. I'm eating this puppy, right? And I mean, it's not science, but I'm still here, so it worked, right? Listen, when it comes to getting things done, when it comes to getting done what you know needs done, the triggers of avoidance will come, I promise. But as soon as you see that pattern or realize what I'm doing right now doesn't need to be done nearly as much as I'm pretending it does. I'm baking, I'm tidying, I'm playing, I'm wasting time. That's the moment. Break the pattern. Admit the stress. I'm overwhelmed, I'm overworked, I'm overstressed. And count to 10. But before you get there, before you get to 10, here's the secret. Interrupt the pattern. Do what you don't want to do. Do it first. Do it now. Don't delay. Maybe you say, Pastor Kevin, what I need to do cannot be done in a moment. It cannot be done in a day. This is a big one. This is huge. This is overwhelming. Stop. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? As soon as you admit the avoidance, within 10 seconds or less, take a bite. Take the worst bite first. Do the worst first. Get the ball rolling. Make the date. Set the appointment. Bring the subject matter up in an email. Do something to at least set this thing in motion. And once you get started, you'll see what every person who ever came home from vacation sees. Those things that I put off, that were stressing me out, that were so huge, are not so big after all. Well, once you take action, once you interrupt the pattern, you'll see more progress than you believe possible right now. Well, once you take action, once you become a doer rather than a hearer only, you'll start to see a new reward, a better reward. If you're ready to break through, if you want to move up to a new level, if you want to see radical results, if you want a new day, a new beginning, a fresh start, if you want to overcome the resistance to change in you and around you, if you want to be able to have the hard conversations, if you want to pull your head out of the sand, pausing in the pain and finally processing it so you can move through it, if you want to get it done, well, do the worst first. Do it now. Don't delay. How? How do you do those things? I mean, how do I stop procrastinating in the most important areas of life? Well, no one is selling round to it these days, right? So instead, stop focusing on the triggers and the troubles. Recognize instead the pattern of procrastination and interrupt the pattern by admitting you're stressed, observing the 10-second rule and taking action, taking at least one bite right now, eating the worst first and getting it done, being a doer of the word and of what you know God would want you to do. Let me pray with you and for you. Heavenly Father, forgive me first for deceiving myself. Forgive me for pretending, this putting off, this complicating, this intellectualizing, this evaluation of what maybe I should do. Forgive me for thinking that's okay, it's normal or good. And today, right now, help me to start, to begin, to do what I already know to do. I recognize the stress and anxiety in my life. I admit there are storms swirling, rains falling, and winds blowing. But right now, in this moment, I admit the triggers will never all go away. So help me to break the pattern of avoidance and take action now so that I can break through to a new level and take a step closer to being who you've called me to be, making you my firm foundation. Move to the very center of my life now. Forgive me for my sin. I receive you as my Savior. And today, right now, I'll serve you as my Lord. Thank you for the breakthrough that is coming my way. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.